It was one of those days when there wasn't a single cloud in the sky and not a single breeze ruffling the leaves of the trees, not a single bird singing or insects buzzing in the garden. It was as if nature itself was holding its breath, waiting for something, watching over a sleeping world. In the midst of this eerie silence, there was a girl who woke up in her room. Her name was Aisha. She had long, flowing black hair that reached down to her ankles and eyes that sparkled like stars in the night sky. She was known throughout the village as a kind and helpful soul, always lending a hand to those in need. Aisha woke up feeling different, as if the stillness of the day was echoing the restlessness in her own heart. She couldn't shake off this feeling that something important was about to happen, but she couldn't bring herself to talk about it with anyone, not even her closest friends. There was a secret stirring within her, a secret that whispered of an adventure that lay ahead. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warm glow over the village, Aisha felt the pull of the unknown growing stronger. The silence around her seemed to be urging her to do something. But what? Confused and troubled, she decided to take a walk outside the village, hoping to find some answers in the whispering trees or the babbling brook. But as she stepped out of the village gate, the wind, which had been so still until then, suddenly picked up, whipping her hair across her face and tugging at her clothes. The trees that had been standing silent now rustled their leaves, and the brook babbled with newfound energy. It was as if the natural world was awakening from a dream, and Aisha found herself at the center of this sudden burst of energy. With each step away from the village, the air grew thicker, the light dimmer. The path ahead became unclear, swallowed by the gathering gloom. The sky, which had been so clear when she left, was now filled with menacing clouds. The wind, which had been playful, now carried an ominous tone, and the rustling leaves whispered secrets of an approaching storm. Aisha paused, her heart pounding in her chest. Fear threatened to engulf her, but she stood firm, her eyes fixed on the darkening path ahead. She knew she couldn't turn back. The path back to the village had vanished, and even if it hadn't, she couldn't bring herself to abandon whatever it was that was calling her. She had a strange sense of purpose, a feeling that this storm, whatever it brought, was a part of something greater than herself. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the wild beating of her heart. She had faced challenges before. She had helped the villagers in times of trouble and stood up for what was right. She would face whatever came. With a resolute nod, she continued her journey into the gathering darkness. As she walked, the storm broke. Heavy raindrops lashed against her skin, cold and unforgiving. Thunder roared overhead, shaking the very ground beneath her feet. Lightning split the sky, momentarily banishing the darkness and revealing the angry tempest that surrounded her. Aisha stumbled, her body weary from the relentless assault of the rain and wind. But she didn't dare seek shelter. She had a feeling that this storm, both outside and within, was meant to test her, to see if she would waver. And she wouldn't. She was determined to see it through. She walked on, her resolve hardening with each step. She thought of the villagers, their faces etched with worry as they looked up at the darkening sky. She thought of the crops that were being battered by the rain, the animals that were seeking cover, the homes that were being threatened by the wind. A wave of determination washed over her. She would protect them. She would face the storm and find a way to make things right. Suddenly, the trees thinned, revealing a sight that made Aisha gasp. In the distance, atop a hill, she saw a lone figure standing, silhouetted against the raging storm. The figure seemed to be reaching out, beckoning to her with an urgency that cut through the roar of the wind and the thunder. Hesitantly, Aisha began to climb the hill, her eyes never leaving the figure. As she got closer, she could feel the intensity of the storm growing. The wind tore at her clothes, trying to pull her back. The rain beat against her, making it hard to see. But Aisha pressed on, driven by an unseen force. When she finally reached the top of the hill, the figure turned, and Aisha saw a woman with hair as white as snow and eyes as blue as the sky on the clearest of days. "You came," the woman said, her voice echoing with an otherworldly calm in the midst of the raging storm. "I knew you would," Aisha replied, her voice barely a whisper against the wind. "Why?" she asked, her gaze fixed on the turbulent sky. "Why did you call me here?" The woman looked at Aisha, her blue eyes filled with understanding. "To show you the truth," she said, extending a hand towards the storm. "The truth about yourself, about your village, about the world." Aisha hesitated, torn between the safety she knew and the truth the woman offered. Then, taking a deep breath, she reached out and took the woman's hand. As their hands met, a surge of power flowed through Aisha, awakening something deep within her. Suddenly, she understood. This storm, this moment, was not just a test. It was a call to action. With newfound clarity, Aisha turned to face the raging storm. She raised her head, her chin held high, and let out a powerful shout, a shout that echoed the strength she felt surging within her veins. As her voice rang out, the wind seemed to listen, the rain seemed to pause, and the thunder rumbled in approval. The storm, which had been so terrifying, now seemed to be under her control. And then, as quickly as it had begun, it ended. The clouds parted, revealing a sky as blue and bright as a summer's day. The rain stopped, leaving behind the scent of petrichor. The wind died down, leaving behind a world washed clean. And there in the distance, Aisha saw a rainbow, a promise of hope and a new beginning. When Aisha returned to the village, the villagers gathered around her, their faces etched with concern. But as she stepped into the circle, their expressions shifted from worry to awe. They saw in her eyes the reflection of the storm, the strength, the resilience, and the wisdom that had been forged in the heart of the tempest. In the days that followed, Aisha became known not just as a kind and helpful soul, but also as a hero, someone who had faced the storm alone and emerged stronger on the other side. The villagers looked to her for guidance, for comfort, and for strength, knowing that she understood their struggles because she had walked through the eye of the storm. And Aisha, though forever changed by her experience, remained humble, always ready to lend a hand, always ready to listen, always ready to help. For she knew that true strength lay not in wielding power, but in serving others. Now, whenever the wind rustled through the leaves or the rain fell from the sky, the villagers remembered Aisha, the girl who had faced the storm alone. And they drew strength from her story, knowing that no matter how dark the clouds might seem, there was always a rainbow waiting to shine through.